Nobody walks past $40,000 worth of engineering wearing a $7,000 price tag. Nobody except every used car shopper in America. Right now, there are 5 SUVs rotting on dealer lots and marketplace listings, and the only people buying them are mechanics who know what is bolted underneath. These are not beaters. These are not gamble and pray purchases. I'm talking about bulletproof drivetrains, dirt cheap parts, and reliability that Toyota charges double for. After more than 2 decades of wrenching, I will tell you straight, the best deals under $7,000 are not hiding. They are sitting right out in the open. Let's count them down. Number 5. The 2011 to 2013 Kia Sorento with the 3.5-liter V6. Say the word Kia to most shoppers, and they immediately picture disposable transportation, something you drive until the wheels fall off and then abandon at a junkyard. That misconception is exactly why this SUV is one of the most overlooked deals on the market. The second-generation Sorento that launched in 2011 was Kia's first real attempt at a unibody crossover with optional 3-row seating, and it represented a turning point for the brand. The version nobody talks about is the one running the 3.5-liter Lambda V6. This is not the troublesome 2.4-liter Theta engine that earned Hyundai and Kia their bad press over rod-bearing failures and excessive oil consumption. I cannot stress this enough because the internet has lumped every Kia engine from this era into the same pile, and it simply is not accurate. The Lambda V6 is a completely different animal. It is the same engine family found in the larger Kia Sedona minivan and several Hyundai products including the Santa Fe. It makes around 276 horsepower, runs a timing chain instead of a belt, so there is no expensive belt service looming at 100,000 miles. And it is naturally aspirated, meaning there is no turbo waiting to grenade and leave you with a 4-figure repair bill. It is paired with a conventional 6-speed automatic, not a CVT, not a dual-clutch automated manual, just a proven slush box that shifts cleanly and lasts. You can find a 2012 Sorento EX with the V6 and reasonable miles for $6,000 to $7,000 right now. When new, a loaded version of this thing crested $30,000. That is a V6 powered crossover with available leather, heated seats, a backup camera, and a 3rd row for the price of a high-mileage Corolla. Depreciation here is entirely about the badge on the hood, not the metal underneath it. When you're shopping, make absolutely sure you're getting the 3.5-liter V6 and not the 2.4 4-cylinder. Check the VIN to confirm the engine, because this is the single most important detail on the entire vehicle, and sellers often don't know the difference themselves. Test the all-wheel drive system if equipped by turning full lock in a parking lot and driving a slow circle. Any binding or clunking, walk away. Pull the transmission dipstick. Dark, burnt-smelling fluid means deferred maintenance, and that's the one thing that shortens an otherwise durable powertrain. Who should buy it? Families who need space and V6 power, but can't stomach Toyota pricing. The badge says Kaya. The engineering says something far better. Number 4. The 2008 to 2012 Ford Escape with the 3-liter Duratec V6. I know. A Ford on a value list right after I told you to trust Korean engineering. But stay with me because the numbers don't lie. This generation Escape is one of the most quietly reliable compact SUVs ever sold in America, and almost nobody remembers it exists. The reason is the engine. The 3-liter Duratec V6 is a port-injected, naturally aspirated, timing chain motor that Ford and Mazda jointly developed and refined over more than a decade across dozens of vehicles. There is no turbo, no direct injection carbon buildup, no exotic anything that can go wrong in an expensive way. It just runs. It makes around 240 horsepower and is mated to a 6-speed automatic that holds up well under normal service. These were workhorses for fleets, rental companies, and families precisely because they didn't break. And that fleet reputation is part of why the resale value cratered so hard. A 2010 or 2011 Escape with the V6 and decent miles routinely sells for $5,000 to $7,000. And clean examples regularly cross 200,000 miles on nothing but oil changes, brakes, and the occasional alternator. Parts are everywhere, and they're cheap, because Ford built these by the hundreds of thousands, and the aftermarket is enormous. A water pump runs a few $100s installed, an alternator about $250, brake pads for all 4 corners under $300. There is almost nothing on this vehicle that costs real money to fix. Compare that to a same vintage European compact SUV, where a single suspension component can run you 4 figures, and you start to understand the value proposition. When inspecting one, check the power steering. Earlier model years had electric power steering recalls, so verify any recall work was completed at the dealer, which is free. Listen for a rhythmic clunk over bumps, which usually points to worn sway bar links, a $30 part. Check the rear differential fluid on all-wheel drive models. If it's never been touched, factor in a cheap service. And look underneath at the subframe and rocker panels on vehicles from northern Salt Belt states, because rust is the one thing that will eventually retire this otherwise immortal little SUV. Who should buy it? Commuters, students, and anyone who wants a no-drama compact SUV that simply refuses to die. It's not exciting, and that's the entire point. Number 3. The 2007 to 2013 Honda Fit. Stay with me here because while it's technically a hatchback, it does everything most shoppers actually buy a small SUV to do. And it does it for less money than any of them. The second generation Fit is built around Honda's 1.5-liter L-Series, 4-cylinder, a timing chain engine with VTEC that is borderline indestructible. It makes around 117 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much, but in a vehicle this light, it's genuinely plenty for daily driving and highway merging. And it returns fuel economy that any SUV on this list can only dream about, often in the high 30s on the highway. The real party trick is Honda's magic seat system. Fold the rear seats flat and you get an absurd amount of usable cargo room for the footprint. More practical, square-cornered space than crossovers twice its size and price. People haul furniture, bicycles, and entire apartment moves in these things. You can find a clean 2010 to 2012. Fit with reasonable miles for $5,000 to $7,000. And these run past 250,000 miles with nothing but fluids and brakes. Repair costs are some of the lowest of any vehicle on the road because Honda built millions of them, and the parts are dirt cheap and everywhere. There is something deeply satisfying about a car this simple and this honest. No turbo to fail, no CVT in the early years to worry about. Just a proven engine and a transmission that does its job for decades. When you're shopping, listen for a rattle from the rear suspension, which usually means worn stabilizer bushings. A cheap fix. Check that the air conditioning blows cold since some compressors wear at higher mileage. Verify the timing chain is quiet on a cold start. Inspect the rear wheel wells and rocker panels for rust on northern examples, because the thin body panels will give out long before the engine does. Who should buy it? City dwellers, new drivers, college students, and anyone who wants maximum reliability and cargo flexibility for the absolute minimum cost per mile. Who should skip it? If you need all-wheel drive or any towing capacity, this is not your vehicle. Number 2, the 2005 to 2010 Toyota RAV4 with the 3.5-liter V6. Everyone shops for a 4-cylinder RAV4 and walks right past the one that is actually a sleeper. This generation RAV4 offered an optional 2GRFE 3.5-liter V6, the exact same engine family that powers the Lexus RX 350, the Toyota Highlander, the Camry Vi6, and about a dozen other vehicles in Toyota's lineup. It makes 269 horsepower, which in a compact SUV this size made it genuinely quick for its day. Quicker 0 to 60 than a lot of V8 SUVs from the same era. People are stunned the first time they floor one. It is chain-driven, so there is no timing belt to replace. Naturally aspirated with no turbo to fail, and paired with a 5-speed automatic that Toyota built to outlast the chassis it is bolted into. This is Toyota's proven, battle-tested powertrain dropped into a compact SUV. that almost nobody thinks to look for. Here's the strange part. Because the overwhelming majority of buyers chase the 4-cylinder, V6 examples often sell for around the same money or only slightly more, which means you can land a 2007 to 2009 RAV4 V6 with reasonable miles for $6,000 to $7,500. You are getting Lexus-grade engineering and a serious power advantage for compact 4-cylinder money. The reliability numbers on this generation are excellent, and these engines routinely sail past 250,000 miles with nothing more than fluids and the occasional water pump. When inspecting one, check the variable valve timing oil line on the 2GR engine for any seepage. That is the one known weak point on this otherwise bulletproof motor, and it is cheap to address if caught early. Verify the engine is actually the V6 by checking for the badge on the tailgate and by confirming the vehicle identification number, since sellers genuinely do not always know what they have. On all-wheel drive models, test the system for any driveline binding at low speed and check the oil level and condition, because a well-maintained 2GR engine will run essentially forever, but a neglected one tells you how the rest of the car was treated. Who should buy it? Anyone who wants Toyota reliability with surprising performance, in a size that is easy to park, cheap to insure, and easy to live with every single day. Number 1. The 2007 to 2012 Mazda CX-9 with the 3.7-liter V6. This is the one that makes me shake my head every single time I see the asking prices. Because pound for pound, dollar for dollar, there is not a better 3-row value under $7,000 anywhere on the market. I need you to understand exactly what's underneath this thing before I explain why it's this cheap. The CX-9 runs a 3.7-liter Cyclone 5.6, the same Duratec-derived engine family Ford used across its lineup, producing around 273 horsepower and a generous helping of torque. It's naturally aspirated, port-injected with none of the carbon buildup issues that plague modern direct injection engines, and mated to a conventional 6-speed automatic. No CVT, no dual clutch, just a proven traditional transmission that shifts smoothly and holds up. Mazda tuned the chassis so well that this thing handles like a vehicle half its size, which is precisely why it won so many comparison tests against the Highlander, the Pilot, and the Honda when it was new. It was repeatedly named to best of lists and praised as the 3-row crossover that was actually fun to drive. A loaded CX-9 Grand Touring crested $35,000 off the showroom floor. Today, a 2009 to 2011 example with the V6 and 3 rows of real usable seating cells for $5,500 to $7,000. Let that sink in. That's a 7-passenger, V6-powered family hauler with available leather, heated seats, a power liftgate, and a sunroof for the price of a tired economy sedan. When new, almost nobody cross-shops a Mazda against a Toyota or Honda in the 3-row segment, which is exactly why the depreciation is this brutal, and that brutality is working entirely in your favor. The badge cost the original owner thousands. It saves you thousands. When you're shopping, the most important inspection point is the transfer case on all-wheel drive models. Some early units had a known service requirement and a specific fluid that needs to be on schedule. So check for any whining or binding and confirm the service history. Pull the transmission dipstick and look for clean red or light pink fluid, not dark brown or burnt. Listen for any rattle in the timing chain area on a cold startup, which on neglected high-mileage examples can point to a worn chain tensioner, a repair worth budgeting for. Inspect the rear of the engine bay for signs of a water pump that lives in a slightly awkward spot on this motor. A clean, well-maintained CX-9 is an absolute steal. A neglected one will cost you. So let the maintenance records and that test drive tell you exactly which one you're looking at. Who should buy it? Families who need 3 rows, V6 power, and a vehicle that is genuinely enjoyable to drive for the absolute minimum money. Nothing else in this price range gives you all 4 at once. So there they are. 5 SUVs the market is sleeping on while everyone fights over overpriced CR-Vs and RAV4 4-cylinders with 150,000 miles. The Kia Sorento with the Lambda 5.6 that has nothing whatsoever to do with Kia's bad reputation. The Ford Escape that quietly runs forever on parts that cost almost nothing. The Honda Fit that swallows more cargo than crossovers twice its size and sips fuel doing it. The RAV4 5.6 sleeper that hides Lexus engineering in plain sight for 4-cylinder money. And the Mazda CX-9, the 3-row family hauler that might just be the single best value in the entire used SUV market under $7,000. You now know 5 vehicles you can buy for under $7,000 that most people have no idea exist, while they keep paying premium prices for badges and missing the engineering sitting right next to them on the lot. If this kind of straight talk helps you shop smarter and keep more money in your pocket, hit subscribe. I've got more videos coming on the vehicles mechanics actually trust versus the ones dealerships push you toward. Like if it helped. I'll see you in the next one.